In recent weeks, there's been a lot of talk about the future of the Gathering of Nations here in Albuquerque. UNM officials announced after this year's powwow it will no longer be held at the UNM pit. We learned more this week about why UNM made that decision, and we've heard reactions from event organizers and supporters in local media. And Eddie, UNM says it's a financial decision. The Gathering of Nations causes the university to lose a bunch of money. $2,300 apparently is a bunch of money, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay. But in the overall sense of things, this is a loss for the pit, a loss for UNM. The story's not over. It's going to end up somewhere, maybe in Albuquerque, but how big a loss is it for you here? Are you concerned in some way?
Very, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's both symbolic and economic. You have an event that's happened over 33 years, adjusted for inflation. It's nearly $1 billion of its economic impact here in the city of Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico. You know, it's a big civic pride thing every April. I mean, you kind of bring in with the weather and everything. Yeah, I love it. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I got to ask you, please, Gene, I mean, a lot of strange decisions have been made with regard to the University of New Mexico as of late. I'm not sure that anybody at the University of New Mexico is really in control, whether it's the Health Sciences Center or whether it's a Gathering of Nations. I think some decisions are being at a much higher pay rate, if you will. I think there's some political decisions, and I'm not sure where this comes from, but I think there's a lot more to this story. Notice the story really flattened out in local media almost immediately. Right. But the Gathering of Nations is something that we all take pride in here. I was involved in a big tournament. It's a big thing for my business as well. Every April, and did anybody ask the other local restaurateurs when they're going to be shopping for other places? Because they can go to plenty of other places, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, you name it. We're going to get and to if that. You think the fairgrounds is going to be able to support that type of celebration, which that venue is a world-renowned place, the pit, you know, Wise Pies Arena, however you want to call it. This is something that we need here, and we need to keep it here. I think they need to reconsider their position.
Eddie makes a good point. The Gathering of Nations is holding a very strong hand right now. And that means they don't necessarily have to stay in Albuquerque.
I think that's right.
And they're going to get offers, aren't they?
And I think it's telling that university says, you know, we've tried to renegotiate this contract and didn't make headway. I'm not sure that the Gathering of Nations is in the kind of position where they have to agree to those sorts of changes.
That's right.
You know, the fairgrounds have come up. Tingley Coliseum holds about 2,000 fewer people, and the pit is already bursting at the seams. So, you know, as we look around the metro area, where else can they go and have that same volume of people in one space? There aren't that many places, and when I say that, I'm really just covering the fact that I don't think there are any. But
I mean, they had that meeting. I'll tell you what the team was looking at from the Journal story, among alternative venues that came up Thursday's discussion were Expo New Mexico, Balloon Fiesta Park, the Albuquerque Convention Center and Civic Plaza, and the Albuquerque rail yards for some reason. I'm not quite sure how that even got into the discussion.
Too small and too toxic.
Right, thank you. It's not going to work at all.
And parking is an issue.
Thank you, it is very much so.
And that's one of the really sad things. So here we have a very complex problem. One is the Gathering of Nations is a private nonprofit. And so the way that government intercedes will be very interesting. Does the government then take over part of the Gathering of Nations? And from what I gather, no, because it has grown up by its bootstrap, and I don't blame them. But talk about a sad loss. You know, one of the things that maybe you don't recognize is so unique is the Pueblo architecture typified by the University of New Mexico is absolutely unique in the world. And having the Gathering of Nations where all the native people come, but that we are grounded here in this Pueblo culture, to lose that, I think is very sad. And not only for showcasing our state, but the economic opportunities. So, but we don't have a place big enough. We truly don't. They need a larger venue, and they need more parking.
Is this how Mayor Berry's downtown arena gets built? Is that what comes out of this?
Probably not in time. Not in time.
This is a showcase.
I think actually, as I say that, I think the plans for that arena were fewer seats than we see at the pit. So I take it back.
And parking is such, you know, so you know, I kind of lean towards revising Tingley Coliseum because you really need a large venue. And I think, from what I understand, the Gathering of Nations would actually benefit from having not only an indoor venue, but a larger outdoor venue that is covered. And
Janice, we can't throw money at the Expo New Mexico. We can't throw money in building another arena. I mean, right now we're financially strapped. We're losing $400 million. I understand your point about having a new venue and everything, But right now, we're making decisions at a state level for our universities. They have a $7.1 million decrease in New Mexico State University, another $10 million here at the University of New Mexico. The Athletic Association is losing, the basketball team is losing money, and in their infinite wisdom, they decided to turn away 20, 25, 30 million. I saw the economic impact and the spillover into the area businesses. There was lines
huge.
out the door.
20 million.
I was over
That's
at
right.
Dave and Buster's. We had 3 school buses that were there.
Right.
It was absolutely incredible.
Right.
My whole thought is, why isn't the Red Nation and that group that's protesting the seal at the University of New Mexico campus, why aren't they more focused on what's happening with the Gathering of Nations when that is an active, I mean, you look at these, this is everybody
I'm sure they
out
could do
there.
both.
Why?
I'm sure they could do both.
Well, they should focus on that.
Yeah.
I actually think that was the unfortunate thing about this from the university's perspective. At a time where they have the controversy about the seal, to make
Horrible.
this decision was just not really politically
Timing couldn't have been
smart.
And $2,300 does not sound good. Now, I recognize that there's some opportunity costs there for the university, and they've got to be taking that into consideration. But like, around this table, could we maybe find $2,300? It just seems
Go
Antoinette,
so short-sighted.
Well,
yeah.
here's what worries me as well, Antoinette Cedillo-Lopez, is I do not like some of the reaction I saw on some of the news blogs around our town. They were horrible. Some of these comments, I mean, people almost like saying, get out of town. We don't want you anymore. The racism was completely over the
was
top.
horrible.
I mean,
That was so sad, and that was what I've been worried about, is this whole Trumpization of public discourse. It was just, words wound, and they matter.
That's right.
And so to read that on those blogs was just terrible, and it creates a really toxic environment. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Native groups just look at that and just wonder.
I think,
really,
I
is
think
this
that
a
the
place
first
we
rule of the
should go?
internet actually is never read the comments. I don't mean that
I would agree
totally
with that to a
facetiously, but
degree, yeah.
there are people who are essentially professional volunteer trolls and who may or may not be in New Mexico. But yeah, you're right, it does send a really
let me ask you
It
this,
was
Antoinette,
terrible.
as well. I started to mention, Eddie mentioned it first, that the tribe could, or the organizers rather, could pick up and go somewhere else. But to Janice's point, it's different being in Madison Square Garden as sort of a thing to look at, to be gawked at, as opposed to something that we live part of here in New Mexico. Do you know what I mean? It's a very different circumstance. At
I
that
agree,
level.
and we're the natural state for it because of our cultures, but Utah is not out of the question.
That's right.
Arizona's not out of the question. Colorado's not out of the question. So I think it's Oklahoma.
I'll tell you,
I
we
think
better
it's
get ready
really
for this,
unfortunate.
because if I'm any city in this western part of this country, I'm making a run at these cats. I
Well,
really
Salt-
am. I
Salt
mean,
Lake City can pick up the phone today, call Derek
Right.
Matthews and say, you know what, we've got all the mass transit, we've got
We're
all the
gonna make it
hotels,
happen.
everything you need.
That's right.
Look at our economic growth. We're pro-business, #1 throughout the entire country. Bring your Gathering of Nations. We can fit
Got
it in.
it.
Yeah,
And you
thank
can
you.
have our main arena.
that's right.